Welcome to part 2 of my AFL Draft Gems series. If this does well enough, I might make a part 3, although like I said in part 1, and you don't need to have watched part 1 just yet, you can watch it after this video, that's absolutely fine. That in a draft where under 60 kids are going to be drafted, it is relatively difficult to look at those that are just not being seen as top-end talent. They could absolutely get good ROI, there's just maybe not enough names out there, but there could be enough to do another one of these, who knows, but without further ado, let's get into it. I joked around in a previous video that Max Kondoyanis was kind of a Timu James Sicily, but I do kind of think it. Now, I know that I said that about Ryan Marich, and that definitely did not age well throughout the 25 season, but this medium, tall-ish intercept defender type is just going to be lumped in with Sicily. It's kind of like guys like Mitch Marsh and other 190-centimetre hybrid forwards being compared to a Jack Gunston type. That's just kind of the way that it goes, unfortunately. For the young players who maybe not live up to that expectation, it's a lofty one to set, especially with a guy like Gunston. But where Kondoyanis kind of gets a tick from me is not only his ability to get up the ground a little bit more, maybe it's transitioning to a wing with the club that takes him, but the fact that he just makes good decisions. And footy IQ is one of those things. I'm not saying that clubs underrate or anything like that, but I think it's just something that can bring out the non-sexy part of you, whereas guys that attempt the kicks on the 45, they look awesome when they get them right. They don't look great when you get them wrong, but if you're only watching draft highlights, you're only seeing the ones that work. Whereas if you go look at Kondoyanis' stats, or you go and look at his highlights, for example, it's not exactly ones that are going to launch off the page at you, but everything that he does is done with a level head. And I just think that having that kind of mature brain is going to suit a lot of clubs. I don't think he's going to be taken on the first night, of course, and I think these clubs would be worthy of taking a look at him. But in terms of guys that you want as a potential shutdown back shoulder player with the ability to get the ball moving out of the better half, I think there are worse options out there than this guy. Is it cheating if I include an academy player? Well, I'm actually going to include two of them, but the first one is going to be Lockie Carmichael. Now, between Max King kind of dominating, not only people thinking there's already one at St Kilda, so what are you talking about? And the fact that Max King's athletic profile has kind of overshadowed his results at the moment. Like, his ceiling is definitely what is getting people spoken about more. The fact that Lockie Carmichael's floor is as high as it is because everything he does, again, is just the right thing. He finds the ball really well, is a really composed way of going about the game, and I think can add some real spark in a post-Ollie Florent wing kind of role for the Swans that kind of makes him not talked about. And granted, I understand that a lot of the academy guys are not going to get a lot of focus because we know where they're going to be drafted, of course, but I think he is a worthy shout out because even a guy like Harry Kyle, who is a part of the Swans Academy as well, I think he's picking up more buzz. But Carmichael hasn't done a whole lot wrong for the entire season, and I just don't think he's getting enough love. So whether we think he's going to be a star, a superstar, or whatever you think he's going to be, a good solid role player, I definitely think that he could be that Sydney, Brisbane, or Gold Coast guy that we look back on in a couple of years and go, they only paid what for him? And he's doing that? He's also going to have an early role in the season as well, whereas compared to some guys maybe like a Daniel Annabelle, for example, might struggle to break into the Brisbane side, I can definitely see a wing role opening up for Lockie Carmichael relatively quickly at the Sydney. Let's go to Cameron Nairn as my third draft gem in this video. And after kicking 7 in a carnival game, an early carnival game, the hype around him was real. And then it kind of died away after that because he just wasn't being played as a tall forward anymore. And that's probably not what he's going to be at AFL level. Now, granted, kicking 7 in a carnival game is great. Matty Jefferson did it a few years ago, but ask Melbourne fans, and they're getting relatively frustrated with Matty J's development, a guy I really liked, by the way. You can't get them all right. I'm not necessarily wrong on him either, by the way, but that's the way that it goes when you do draft content. You get some right, you get some wrong. We'll see how that one ages. But Nairn is definitely a utilitarian type, and granted, guys like Charlie Banfield, who is also a utility kind of player, it's going to be a case of, are you going to go through a positional identity crisis? Are you going to be like, I can play multiple positions, but how many can you play at AFL level is going to be the question around Cameron's fit. I really hope that the club that does pick him up, and I've got him mocked in the 25 to 40 range, have got a set role for him. And I know that when I do my official November mock draft, that I'm going to be doing this and sending him to a club that I think could identify a role for him really early on. I do like him ahead of the ball, so wing, half forward type, and I think he could be an Adelaide Tom Lynch kind of player, just taller, maybe a better mark, even though I thought Lynch was pretty good overhead, by the way. But overall, I think he is definitely a guy who's going to get a lot of love on draft night from like the experts watching on Fox or AFL's website. Absolutely, that could be the go, but I think he's a guy that could surprise a few. I like what he's got, and another one whose footy smarts stand out when you watch the film on him as well. And last but not least, the guy who I think is the most underrated of the academy guys, and that's Kai Fincher, related to St Kilda's next gen academy. Jack Sinclair Jr., could that be his nickname? The guy that, again, started down in defense, kind of like the invert of Rory Wright, who went from a halfback flanker to the midfield. That's Fincher I'm talking about, where there's Wright went from a midfielder to a halfback flanker. He had 26 disposals in his VFL debut. And again, kind of because we know that St Kilda are going to match a bit on him and they don't have a lot of picks, so he's probably going to be their only one, or if not, they might grab a second one without upgrading anyone off the rookie list. But I think he is definitely going to be a guy who impresses early. He just knows where the footy is, and I just think that the Jack Sinclair Jr. just works on him. He's 184 centimetres. He is really good overhead for his size, and he just wants to get and go, and that's definitely more younger Jack Sinclair than... Now, Sinclair, of course, thrives on the fact that he can get a handball where he can get and go, whereas Fincher is going to be a little bit more dangerous in the air, but he's going to have no better guys to learn from in the opening of his AFL career than off the aforementioned Sinclair and Nasiah Wanganeen-Millera, for crying out loud. The Saints definitely, and I hope that this is the case, but definitely seem to want to put a bigger onus on ball movement. And if Fincher is going to be able to display those kind of traits with a guy like Mateus Filippo rotating off a half-forward flank and being able to learn from the guys that are already in that midfield, being on the outside while a guy like Sam Flanders is at the bottom of the pack dishing the ball out, geez, you could go into a lot worse situations. And considering you're going to have a guy like Marcus Windhager, who's going to be around the mark as well as a permanent midfielder, Fincher offers a little bit of positional versatility that, again, is going to suit the midfield and half-back spots on the ground that St Kilda are definitely prioritising post the trade period. And they are 4 more of my draft gems, guys. What do you think? Comment below, let me know. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. Plenty of more draft content to come before the live streams. Thank you very much. See you in the next one. Goodbye.